everybody. Welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with the bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So 1 minute book recs.
Her shirt.
What?
I said who's not wearing her shirt.
No, I'm not. I'm wearing my Buffalo Bills. Guys, this is our 1 minute book recs. This is where we go over all the books we read in the past week with 1 minute synopsis for each book. But before we get started with that, Mandy has some housekeeping.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I really need to dust.
Yeah, I know.
I need to mop
I need a maid.
The barn probably needs cleaned again.
Yeah.
No, hit that subscribe button and thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. We hope you find some good book recs.
Yeah, and we do give away free books. We're just trying to figure out what we're going to do next. So hang around. Hit that button. You'll get something cool.
Okay, so next on the housekeeping list is we have been thinking about doing a book exchange. So basically what it would be for Valentine's Day, and you would be matched up with somebody and you would each buy something off of your Amazon wish list for the other person just for fun for Valentine's. So if you'd be interested in a Valentine's Day book exchange, comment below. We're just going to kind of judge interest this week, and then if there's enough, we will try and pull that off for next week to get it going in time for Valentine's Day. So let us know. And then the last housekeeping item, which is probably the most exciting one. If you have not signed up for a subscription to Coveted Cover, you are going to want to do that right now because they have some, oh my gosh, I have some sneak peeks that I can't share yet. We've shared a little bit for the first box, and we probably will share some more coming up soon. But there is a dark and taboo box that you can get, and there's also a fantasy box, and you can also get both of those boxes. And using our rep code, which I will put down below, you will get 10% off your first box. And if you add both the fantasy and the dark and taboo at the same time in your cart, you can save 10% off both of those, but your code only works once. So
yes, you have to, and you can do that. You can put both in your shopping cart at the same time.
Yes.
And I'm just going to warn you guys, we're almost sold out of subscriptions. So you're going to want to do that. And Mandy knows the lineup for our dark box. So if you guys are fans of ours, you're going to want to do that because, I chose the authors. So
yeah. It's very good.
Yeah. So it's exciting. We're very excited. Okay. Whoa, were you going to say something?
No.
Okay. How was your reading week?
My reading week was pretty good. I did not have any duds this week, which is always nice because last week there were a few, and I had a couple 5 stars. So yeah, I got 9 books in.
Okay. I got 6 books in. We had a kid with a birthday. There were some deadlines, whatever. But I got 6 books in. But out of those 6 books, there was a dud. But out of those 6 books, I had 3 5 stars. So I think that's a pretty good week.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Half your books were 5 stars?
Half my books were 5 stars. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. So let's get started. That means you've got to start. I know you love it.
I hate starting. Okay. My first book is Hunting Pretty by Sienna Blake. And this is about Ava and Scath. And this is part of the Lovely Broken Doll series. So this does end on a cliffhanger, just an FYI. So Ava has a stalker. And she also has another stalker. So her stalker is stalking her stalker and trying to eliminate him. And she is busy. Her best friend has just gone missing. So Ava was adopted when she was like about 13, and she does not recall her life before that. And she's in therapy. She's trying to figure out why she can't remember things, but she's also a little cautious of that as well. And then I think they're in college now, like probably first year of college, because she's still living with the lady who adopted her, but she doesn't call her mom. She's still living with her, and she's going to school, and her best friend goes missing. And this leads her to investigate because they keep telling her that she ran away, and she doesn't believe that. So she's investigating this, but her stalker does not want her digging into this at all. And so he starts to punish her to keep her from doing that.
Okay.
So it does end on a cliffhanger. I rated it 4 stars. I have read, this is the first dark romance by Sienna Blake I've read, and I'm not, I'm, I don't have her backlist memorized, but I don't recall other dark romance on her stuff. Some of it dips into it a little bit, but I think this is her first real dark romance.
Yeah, because I've kind of looked at her a couple of times and I don't really see dark romance on there, but that could be that I missed it too. So
she wrote one of my favorite taboos, Irish Kiss. So good.
No, kind of waiting for her to get audio for that because she's bringing in audio for some of her other books lately, but so far, no. So, okay. So my first book of the week was my first and only disappointment of the week. So it is no secret, I do not like Den of Vipers. I put that out there before. I wanted to give K.A. Knight another chance. And let's talk about that. So I read Blade of Iris by K.A. Knight. This is the 6th book in the Mafia Wars series that is a whole bunch of authors that have written a book within this world. And I love this world. I have enjoyed every book except for this one. So this is the last one. This is the one that I was looking forward to the most because it's teased at the beginning of book 1 in this Mafia Wars series. And this is Iris. She is our Irish, her family's part of the Irish Mafia, and she is sold to the Bratva. And we know from the very beginning that the 3 Bratva brothers are like, yeah, we're all going to share her. And they make that statement when she's betrothed to them because there's a feud between their families, and they're like, that's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it that way. So I was really looking forward to this one. Tor Tom narrated it, which is the only reason why I gave it 3 stars. Otherwise, I would have given it 0 stars. It was horrible. K.A. Knight, for me, makes extremely obnoxious heroines. Your heroine could be strong without being overly obnoxious and annoying. And that is what happens. And I hated it. I loathed it. I was actually messaging Tor the whole time going, if it weren't for you, I couldn't do this. So I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love K.A. Knight. She just doesn't work for me because her heroines annoy the hell out of me. And we try to be respectful for authors. Again, it's just the way she writes them. I can't stand it. So that's a me thing. Might be a her thing. I don't know. Okay, anyhow, go ahead. What's your next?
Okay, so my next book I wanted to read because it's about a true crime podcaster, which just really had me very intrigued because I love that stuff. And then I saw the cover and I was sold. So I didn't even actually read the blurb, so I really didn't know what was going to be happening in this book. But growing up, my dad had a Volkswagen van and I loved it, and he sold it without me knowing, and it's a little bit bitterness. And my husband has been working on trying to track it down to buy it, but it's been a little bit of a hassle because my dad sold it like 20 some years ago. But anyways, that is All the Missing Pieces by Catherine Cowles. So she actually, our heroine Ava, lives in this van and travels around the United States doing her true crime podcast and trying to hunt down somebody who has been committing crimes that she believes are all interconnected. And so she's like on the case on this. So she goes to a town where the very first person was kidnapped from, and she wants to try and talk to this lady because she actually got away. And so she's there to investigate what's going on and trying to get her story to piece this together to see if she can figure out who did this, because all of this is very near and dear to her heart because her twin sister, and this, I did read the back after I read the book. This is on the back. Her twin sister vanishes from their college graduation party, and she is like devastated, and she is trying to solve this big, huge mystery. So while she's there, she meets Colt, the sheriff, who they get kind of in a little bit of a tiff over something, if you will. It's nothing major, but it doesn't start them off on the right foot. And Colt is very protective of his town and what has happened here, so he's not super interested in her being there poking around on it. I love this one. I gave it 5 stars. I probably didn't do a great job of talking about it because there's a lot that it's a romantic suspense. It's Catherine Cowles. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't want to overshare too much, but she has a cat who gives tooth hugs. And just think about what that's like.
Yeah.
I loved it. So there's really great banner in this, and it was very different. I loved it.
Okay. So my next book that I jumped into was Be My Reason by Samantha Christie. I love Samantha Christie. So this is about Brooklyn and Nate. So when the book starts out, the very first chapter, they're actually in high school. It is the only chapter where they're in high school, but they're in high school, and Nate is this big baseball star, and he has invited Brooklyn to a party, and she's had a crush on him forever. And lo and behold, he likes her too. And so they end up going to like a little lookout point, and they're both virgins, and they decide that they're going to get rid of that night together. And then when Brooklyn gets to school the next day, like he asks her to be his girlfriend, and then she goes to school the next day and he's gone. His family has packed up and left town. There was something that happened, and so they packed up and left town, and she never sees him again. And she's just devastated. Like, you know, she thought that this was going to be it. And that happened between them. And now he's just gone with no goodbye, no nothing. And so now it's 10 years later. Brooklyn owns a bakery. She's always been into baking. And she is living with her, or she has a fiance who is a resident at the hospital or a doctor at the hospital. And they're absolutely in love. She goes with her best friend to a convention, an architect convention. And the best friend meets a guy that she likes there. But this guy has a buddy. And so they talk her into going out to dinner with the buddy. And lo and behold, that is Nate. And so there's some feelings there. And he's wanting to get her back right away. She hates him. There's like that push-pull. And she still has a fiance. So there's a lot going on here. I gave this 5 stars. This book made me cry a few tears. So it was great.
I have to go.
Yeah. That made me cry, you know. So it was definitely angsty, second chance. Oh, there's just some, there's some stuff that happens in this. So, yeah. Okay, what's your next book?
Okay, well, there you have it, folks. That's our reading week.
Yeah. No, it's proof that I have tear ducts, okay?
No, I'm very excited. That just sounded really good even before you brought that up.
It is good. It was really good. So, yeah. And there's audio. I listened to it. So, yeah.
My next book is the third book in the Vegas Heat Bases Loaded series. So this is on deck. So I am listening to this. I got the ALC for this series. So this is by Avery Reed and Scott Rose narrate this one. So this is the continuation of Danny and motherfucker. Alexis, why can't I remember anything?
I don't know.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Neither am I. That's the best. That's awesome. Okay.
Okay. So I've got the ALC for this series. So the third book is coming out on the 21st on audio, and Avery Reed and Scott Rose narrate it, and they do a phenomenal job. So this is the continuation of Danny and Alexis's story. So if you haven't been following along or you've forgotten, Danny is the pro baseball player. Alexis is our Oops, I forgot to set the timer. Sorry, I'll be really quick. Alexis is our country singer. Alexis is micromanaged by her dad and her who's her agent and her manager, who are all very invested in her money more than her as a person. And he is arranging basically a marriage to secure things. And now Alexis is kind of forced to make a decision. Does she marry for love, or does she marry to save everything that she's worked her entire life for, basically?
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun. So that was book 3.
Would you give it?
I'm so far the series
because
has
you're in
been
the
a
middle of
5-star.
it. Yeah. Okay. Sorry if anybody heard that loud kerthunk when Mandy was talking. My German Shepherd likes to run through the house with this toy in his mouth and then just drop it on the hardwood.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe. Okay. So the next book that I read is a Jagger Cole book. So Jagger Cole's been putting a lot of his books out on Mr. Goose.
Mr. Goose. Hey.
On audio. And so I picked up Toxic Love by Jagger Cole. Like I said, Jagger Cole. Okay, so anyhow, this is about Tempest and Dante. So Tempest finds out that her niece, who is actually younger than her by a couple of years, because her grandpa was a hoe, apparently. And when these things happen, I have an uncle that's only a year older than me, and an aunt that's 5 years younger than me. So it does happen. But she finds out that her her aunt is going to be forced to marry Dante, who is another member of the Mafia, and he's like the ruler. He's leads this group, and she's like just blown away by this. She really hasn't been raised in the Mafia. Her parents passed away, and her brothers and her are now living with grandpa or around grandpa, but she hasn't been raised in the Mafia. And so she finds out that this is happening. She is appalled by it, and she's adamant that this should not go through. And so what she decides to do, because we find out she has a liver or kidney condition, I can't remember, I think it's a liver condition, and she's only got like 6 months left to live, and nobody knows that she's dying. So she disguises herself and signs the blood contract pretending to be the cousin or the aunt. And now Dante has to marry her because it is a blood contract. But little does Dante know, she's dying. I gave it a solid 4 stars. Loved it. Want to continue on. I've only read one other Jagger Cole. So.
Continue on in the series, or is that the book?
This is their story. This one ends with their book.
Okay.
So continue on in the series with the brothers.
Basically. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So next.
Okay, next I read One Touch by Lena Hendricks.
Okay.
So, set the timer. This is Kate and Beckett's story. So Kate is working on restoring her aunt's house that she's living with her aunt there. She has very fond memories of it. And her aunt's house is like an older, it's part of the historical registry type home. And she wants to restore it. And Beckett, who is her, it gets a little complicated here. Beckett is her brother's best friend, but also her ex-boyfriend's brother. Okay, so there's two tropes, solid tropes going on there. And so Beckett is willing to help her. She doesn't want his help, so she basically tells him to kind of get lost. And then she gets herself in a little bit of trouble without having the proper permits, and Beckett kind of jumps in and saves her. So reluctantly, her and Beckett are working on this project together. And Beckett he's frustrated a little bit with his brother did not treat her well, and she was really clueless to what was really going on in that relationship. And so there's some tension between the two of them, and you know how that's gonna go, because once there's one touch. Sorry, that was cheesy.
Yeah, it's okay.
So I rated this 4 stars. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
And I think this might have been my first Lena Hendricks book. I don't know how that happened. I thought I've read her before.
I've only read one of hers before. We've met her several times, but yeah.
Yes.
Last year I read Quiet Beautiful Things, which was the one with the heroine who's deaf and the little girl who's deaf. So this is the second book in that series. In that book, we find out that one of the older brothers, which is Dallas, lost his wife and 6-month-old baby to carbon monoxide poisoning. And he is not dealing well with this. He actually lives off the grid in northern New York in the mountains in a little cabin. And it's happened a couple of years ago, and he is just not dealing well at all. And we have our heroine, who is Martina or Marty, and she is on her way to New York from Florida, trying to get to her 3-year-old son, because the son was on vacation with his father and stepmom, and the father died. Like, it was an abrupt thing. And so she's trying to get to him. Her car crashes. It's a blizzard. And Dallas finds her, and they're snowed in together for like a week. But his little boy that died at 6 months would be 3 if he was still alive. And like, he just has a lot of issues. So I gave this one a solid 4 stars. I really liked it. I want to continue on in the series.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, last week I read a Jewel E. Ann book that I absolutely loved. And so now I am gone down the Jewel E. Ann rabbit hole.
Yes. Okay.
So I read Sunday Morning. Mm-hmm. And this is about Sarah and Isaac. So Sarah is the preacher's daughter. She is, your like real typical good girl. And she is just graduating from high school. They're at their end of their senior year. So this is very coming of age type story. And her long-term boyfriend have both been very good, like churchgoers, following all the rules. And, you know, as a preacher's daughter, like she is not the rebellious preacher's daughter that you might think. But then things kind of change, and she decides that she wants to be a little more rebellious, and she convinces him that they should do it. And it is a disaster. And she actually says, I knew it wouldn't be like Disneyland, but I was at least hoping for Six Flags, which made me just die laughing. And this kind of leads to the demise of their relationship, which was they already knew they were going to go their separate ways. And Sarah just really wants to live her life and not be told how her life is going to go. She wants more than just to marry Matt and, you know, have his kids and stay at home. She has big dreams. And insert Matt's older brother, Isaac, the rebellious wild child who's just gotten home from the army.
Oh,
yeah.
This preacher's daughter is intrigued. So.
Yeah, she is not, I mean, she is definitely got a little, it's not as rebellious as you might think.
Yeah.
So if anybody has like a good preacher's daughter, so I rated it 4 stars, still really liked it. I am now hankering, because that's a really good word, for a book where it's like the preacher's daughter and like the rebellious guy kind of corrupts her. Like there wasn't a lot of corruption. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think, and I don't know how, because I haven't read it yet, but I thought in her Naked Fisherman, that duet, that she's a preacher's daughter or raised around that or something. It has something.
I don't know.
So
I am very excited though. The next book in this series, Apple Tree, comes out like this Thursday, I think. And it's her sister. And her sister is already a little rebellious in the book when she's 16. And so then her sister, I'm assuming there might be a little bit of a time jump, but I don't know. Her sister is going to be the nanny to an older guy, like to his son. Yeah, so I'm really excited for that one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So last week you talked about a couple of Jay Saman's books, but I picked up Irresistibly Risky because you talked about that last week, and I was like, I have to read this. So that is what I did.
All right.
Yes. So this is Winter and Asher. So if you guys remember from last week, Winter and Asher meet the night. So Asher's a football player, wins the Super Bowl. They meet the night of the Super Bowl. He is drunk and he's got muscle relaxers in his system, and they meet in a bathroom. Like, he's going pee in the women's bathroom when she comes in, which I just thought was pretty funny. And he's like, yeah, the line was too long in the men's. There's a lot of guys out there. They end up having a one night stand in the bathroom where he can't fully get it going, but he gets it going enough. And then, goes out and he's like, wait here, I'm going to make this better. And goes to find his friend to get some Viagra. And his friend's like, dude, I'm not a walking pharmacy. And by the time he comes back, she's gone. So then we fast forward a year and a half later, and Winter is an orthopedic surgeon, and she's a resident or fellow or whatever. She's learning. She's only her first year. And she has a 10-month-old son from that night. Now, she doesn't remember a lot about that night. So when she gets brought onto the team to be the orthopedic doctor for the quarterback who's got a shoulder injury, she doesn't recognize him right away, but he knows it's her. But that is her baby daddy. So I actually gave this one 5 stars. I loved this. I was just
good.
Sucked in from the get-go.
I really, really enjoyed how he is still this like massive hero and the like alpha hero.
Oh yeah.
But there was like the whole like fumbling to try and get things going. Like, it's explained why that happens, but it's just, it was so funny.
Yeah. So it was good. I liked it a lot.
Speaking of Jay Saman.
Yeah, we know.
Lisa Suzanne helped us with how to pronounce her name. And I forgot when I was talking about Bases Loaded by Lisa.
Yeah.
To mention that Lisa came and did an interview with us. So that will be out on Wednesday. We're very excited for that one. She is just super like nice. It's just like chatting with like a friend.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I loved it. So look for that on Wednesday. And she writes a lot. And she has lots of cool stuff coming. So you're definitely going to want to tune in for that one.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Next.
Okay. My next book, it's funny that you talked about Tor, because my next book, he had posted a clip of himself reading this book because it just came out. And he obviously is the narrator. So I was like, oh, I'll go check that out. So I listened to Mine by Sarah Fields, narrated by Tor Tom and Paige Rosenfeld. So this is about Macy. Macy's parents passed away many years ago, and her godfather has basically provided for her life from afar. And so he has not seen her since she was like a toddler. And now he made sure like her grandma had everything, but her grandma is now passed. She's 19 and she makes a bad choice and gets in a car with this guy who's been drinking. He crashes the car and he flees the scene, leaving Macy there. Macy gets arrested and she really has no idea what to do, who to call. So she calls her godfather, who happens to fly in from Greece. So, and gets her out, takes her home, drops her off, and then he heads back to Greece. But he cannot stop thinking about her, and she cannot stop thinking about him. And then Macy gets kidnapped, and he is forced to act. So, really liked this one. I rated it 4 stars. And, you have the dark romance because he's, into some stuff. And the forbidden romance because he's her godfather. But the forbidden taboo aspect of it is super light because he hasn't been in her life and her family is all gone. So there's no like conflict there other than his own thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my next book's Taboo. So we can talk about that.
Oh, awesome. I love Taboo.
I know. For those who don't know, this is my last book too. For those who don't know, BJ Alpha put a new book out this week. So, there's that. This is the new book in a new series. So I read Stone. This is her first book in her Carrera Brothers series. I'm just going to give you a couple of the tropes before I tell you about the book. So we've got half siblings, amnesia, Mafia. There's obviously the breeding and pregnancy kink and some lactation. Okay, so let's talk about this book. So this is about Sienna and Stone. So when Stone was a teenager, he was brought to the house. He had suffered some major trauma. And as far as he knows, he was brought to the house. He doesn't have a memory at all. He doesn't remember anything before a certain date. And he has been tortured, and not like tortured by others. As far as we know, it is by his father because he is the bastard child. So he is treated as the bastard child. And apparently this dad has bastards everywhere. And but this is the only one they've actually ever brought in home. But like in the first couple of scenes we see him, he's like eating and he's like, I think it's tomato soup. I can't tell because my tongue has been cut so many times and damaged so much I can't taste. So to say Stone is, abused is an understatement. But the only person who can touch and comfort him is Sienna. And they have these feelings for each other. But then her dad is forcing her to marry someone else, and if they get caught touching or talking, like they're both dead, and it's like a whole thing. So I honestly want to say that Stone is like my new BJ Alpha book boyfriend. Like I loved this book so much. I cannot wait for the next one in the series. 5 stars, probably be on my top books of the year. I friggin' loved him because he was hurt, but yet he was also alpha, and like, oh my god, it was so freaking good.
Okay. Well, you've given me a couple of books I want to go read this.
I know. Amnesia and Siblings.
Yeah.
So, anyhow. But not as all as it seems. So you got to keep reading. Just keep reading. So, okay.
All right. My next book is Devil's Thirst by Jill Ramsauer. And I have the ALC for this. It has already come out, so you are able to go grab this. It is narrated by Brooke Daniels and Peter Alden. So we have Amelia, and her and Sante met about 4 years ago at her sister's wedding. And then Sante is gone for 4 years off doing stuff. And now he is back, and he is obsessed with Amelie. I think I called her the wrong name. It's Amelie. He is obsessed with Amelie. And she doesn't remember him. She doesn't recognize him, but he is stalking her. He moves in next door to her. He follows her everywhere. He watches her. She's a ballerina. He watches her when she's dancing. And he just basically really inserts himself fully into her life. And Amelie is a little terrified because she has some pretty big secrets of her own. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I rated it 4 stars.
Okay. All right. You got another one?
I do. I have 2 more.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, my next one is, so excited about this one, Big Daddy by Daisy Jane.
Okay.
So this one, I can't hold my stuff and set the timer at the same time. So this is Winnie and Quincy's story. So Quincy is Brielle. So if you've read Daisy Jane, her book Bound by Brielle, he is her father. And I haven't read that book, but apparently he appears in that a little bit as her dad. And Winnie is Brielle's best friend. And so Quincy is like an overbearing asshole who's kind of withheld affection from his daughter. His wife died when she was little, and so he has just done his best to make money and provide for her financially, and has not really done a great job of providing for her emotionally and that sort of thing. So their relationship is really strained. He's used to just being like, I pay for this, and her doing what he wants. Well, he shows up at Brielle's apartment one day, and Winnie is there, like, hysterically crying. And for whatever reason, that really sets him, like, it bugs him. And so he sets things in motion to try and improve Winnie's life for her. And he doesn't really understand this change in himself. And before you know it, Winnie has got a job with him. He's demanding that she give up her side job of feet fans.
Oh.
Like, he is not happy about that. And things escalate between the two of them pretty quickly. But Winnie is also helping him see like where he's gone wrong in his relationship with Brielle. So he's trying to work on that as well. But if he's seeing her best friend, that is going to make things very complicated. And Brielle's been like the one person that's been there for Winnie this entire, like, she's got a little bit of a tragic backstory. And so she doesn't want to risk that friendship. So it really kind of complicates things on a whole different level for the two of them to be together. And she is called, I know I'm going way over my time, but Winnie is called her dad, Brielle's dad, Quincy, Big Daddy, as kind of like a little insulting at first because he's such a controlling asshole. So she calls him Big Daddy. Well, she calls him that then to his face. And so when they're at work, she refers to him as Big Daddy, and he's like, "You can't call me that at work." And she's like, "Fine, large father." I love the banter and I love the character development a lot in this book. So much. So 5 stars.
Awesome.
Okay. And then my last book is another ALC, and this one is out as well. It's Rushing into Love by Kara Kendrick. And the ALC is narrated, well, the audio is narrated by Leslie Mercer and Cassie Brown. So this is about Bree. Bree flees LA. She is a relationship expert when she finds out that her boyfriend is cheating on her via pictures on Instagram. And so she's really concerned that this is going to ruin her professional career when people find this out. So she flees to go stay with her sister in, I think it's Peach Grove, like a little small town. And this is where she meets Ryder, who is her niece's Pee-wee football coach. And she really takes to Ryder quite quickly. And then Ryder was a famous pro football player, and he's now retired, just trying to quietly raise his son by himself. And Bree brings about tabloid pictures, and just things get messy pretty quick. I rated this 4 stars, but really the narration kind of saved it. I think I would have possibly been a little bit bored had I read it. I enjoyed listening to it, but I don't know that the story would have captivated me as much if I hadn't been listening to it.
Valid. That's valid.
Yeah.
I have a few like that. So, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Those are my 9 books that I read this week.
And my 6.
So 15 book recs.
And most of them were really good. So,
yes.
Yeah. All right. So you guys have more to add to your TBR.
You're welcome.
Exactly. I was going to say, sorry, not sorry. So.
All right. Make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us and have that notification button hit, because we are just coming at you on Wednesdays with lots of great author and narrator interviews. So make sure you check those out.
Yeah.
If you didn't catch it, we did have Teddy Hamilton and Tor Tom on last week. So you're going to want to make sure you go check that one out if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Tune in
it was a
Wednesday.
lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and it was a little chaotic, so it was great.
Yes. And make sure you tune in Wednesday for Lisa Suzanne's interview.
Yeah. Yep. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.